Hey everyone, John Newman here. Thank you for downloading this episode of Card Mensches. Myself and Danny Black of Hobby News Daily would like to remind you this is a live show every other Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. It can be found on most of our social medias. Danny's at Sportsball and Hobby News Daily. I am Sports Card Nation Podcast. And it can be found on our YouTube channels at Hobby News Daily, Sports Card Nation Podcast, at Sportsball, and at Card Mensches. So with that being said, we hope to see you very soon on a Friday night in our very active chat room. Now let's start the show.
Experience, quality, consistency, and the quickest turnaround times in the grading industry? We are proud to partner with SGC Grading. Check them out at www.gosgc.com.
Hi, I'm Danny Black.
And I'm John Newman.
Welcome to Card Mensches. What's going on? I'm Danny Black.
Show today?
That's John Newman, and hopefully we have a show. And this is episode 30 of Card Mensches. I really want to play that introduction again. I'm going to be honest.
Why?
I was like just getting into it, and then it ended. I felt left out. What's going on, Steven? How are you? So we're in football season. You're all bundled up because you live in Alaska or North Pole.
I live in one of the hardest hit snow areas in the country, man. Syracuse, New York. But I will say this, man. It's I'll probably jinx it, although we do have a snowstorm scheduled for Sunday. It's been a pretty mild winter. I've had no snow days off from school, so that part stinks. But I don't mind not shoveling a ton.
Yeah, no. Luckily, I've got twin boys that do most of the shoveling, and Ruben says, "Damn, did John hijack the Syracuse mascot outfit?"
This is my orange polo sweater I got for
orange.
Christmas one year. It's not new, but I wore it today to school, so I didn't do any Mensches outfit changes, so this is what I wore to work.
Yeah, you know what? I did want to mention this. Steven says, all good here. Very sad news today about Sports Illustrated. Let off their whole staff. I don't know if you heard about that this afternoon.
Yeah, I did. Well, I got a feeling someone's going to come in and swoop in and save them and buy them and keep the brand going. But if not, if that isn't the case, it's crazy. Sports Illustrated's been around a long time, and it'd be kind of sad, Yeah.
So, think what it does to all those collectible Sports Illustrateds, though.
Yeah, I don't really have any. Probably a couple Steeler ones, but that's about it for me.
You're probably 6 hours too late to try to buy one.
Yeah.
And
well, heck, they put baseball cards in there in the 50s too. So Rocket Jock, remember those?
I am. This is my ESPN. That's hysterical. My ESPN jersey.
They did like a 4-point shot in basketball and
baseball tonight. Mookie says, "Does this mean my sneaker phone won't work anymore?" It's the football phone. It's the football phone from Sports Illustrated. Yeah. I had one of those. Warren, what's going on? Did you ever? Were you a Sports Illustrated guy?
I read it. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever subscribed to it. I would just either someone would let me read their copy, or if I went to the newsstand, remember those? And there was a cover that I was fond of, I would, buy one. Or if it was a Steeler related cover or Mets related cover, I would maybe pick it up. I wasn't reading every episode, necessarily, but I'd pick it up here and there. And it's just an iconic magazine. It's when you think of sports magazines, it's probably the first one that comes to mind. Quite frankly, it is.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Well, I will say that I always tried to get my parents to get me a subscription for my birthday, because that meant I got the free giveaway. That's how I got my football phone, and it included the swimsuit issue, so I didn't have to go buy it on my own. It would automatically be delivered. So that was the advantage to the subscription.
Yeah, I think now that I think about it, I think I had it for a year or two at different points, and then I let it expire, and then they keep sending you like they keep sending you like renew
Oh.
now, and then it would be like half price. I learned the trick. Like you don't subscribe right away, and then you can get it half off. So
Well, that's good work on your part. And Ruben, it was Eddie Matthews, first player on the cover of SI.
you say that like you know, or are you taking a guess?
No, I know that one.
Okay.
I sold a first copy. Just testing it. Thank you, Ruben. I appreciate it.
I would have got that wrong. If I guessed. I mean, now I know the answer, but
well, here's a great transition.
I was going to go with John Daly, but I think
well, Card Mensches will have to have a swimsuit issue now, according to Steven. So maybe
you have to use extra paper.
Right. And it's definitely
I don't think that's going to be very much in demand. It'll probably be rare because a lot of them will get destroyed, and it'll make any remaining copies worth some money.
It's a super, super short print.
Yeah.
Evening, guys. Everyone has to be rooting for Jordan Love and the Packers tomorrow night, right? Well,
we're going to talk about Jordan. We are going to talk. Jordan Love's on my list of guys to talk about on this particular topic that we picked today.
Happy Friday, Hodges. All right, so we kind of kicked the ball off there. You want to talk about what our main topic
is? Well, listen, it's the NFL playoffs, and I know we talk a lot of baseball on the show. We're both baseball fans, but football, whether people like, a little shots fired coming here, whether people want to admit it or not, football's really become the national pastime. And a lot of people obviously watch it. You got fantasy football. You got daily fantasy leagues. You've got, sports betting. Football is probably, without fact checking, I think it's the number one probably gambled on sport out of the major sports. And so, and baseball, I love baseball. It's not a knock to baseball, but I love football too. And it's playoff time, man, as we lead up to the Super Bowl here in early February. And we've seen this before, right? What's happened on the field, even in postseason, obviously can have a direct correlation on card values. I know it's a quarterback-driven league. We're not here to change that narrative or try to change people's minds, but we have seen some defensive players start to garner more hobby attention. Wide receivers have made strides. Running backs have kind of, if any position in hobby football that hasn't really made big strides, it's probably been the running back still. But quarterbacks, receivers, and even a little bit on the defensive side have. And people can make a name. Some of these players can make a name for themselves with playoff performance. And that's kind of what we're going to go through tonight and talk about some guys who not only can help your stock, right, but who's hurt their stock thus far or in games that have already been played. So again, we can kind of tackle both sides of those analytics.
Well, just to catch up on a couple comments, Mookie says that you're right about football being number one. Taylor Swift would never date Nestor Cortez.
That would be interesting, though. I'm not going to lie.
Nestor's a very nice guy. I got to tell you, nice guy, Nestor.
And if that doesn't work out with Travis Kelce, maybe he's next on the list. We don't know what our list looks like.
And the Aaron Jones versus Christian McCaffrey matchup could be one for the ages. I like the Niners in that one. I don't know if we're making picks.
I don't know, man. That game I'm not necessarily going to pick winners, but that game might be closer than people probably think it should be. I think. I don't know.
So I'm going to put the Saturday games up on the screen just so we have them up there while we talk about them. And I guess look forward a little bit first. Houston, Baltimore. Who are we kidding? You know where I fall on this one. CJ Stroud. At this point, I think he's maxed out, not for the year. I'm saying he won't lose any value if they lose. I think
unless they really get blown out and he looks terrible. But even then, like you said, he had arguably, guys, the greatest NFL rookie season ever. Any position, just wow. I'm almost going to say any position, Danny. Okay. Like the greatest rookie season I didn't see it coming. I didn't think he would be bad, but I don't think anyone saw him having the year he did. And then you take the other side of the coin, and Bryce Young looked horrible. And we've seen young quarterbacks struggle. One that plays on the Steelers, who's terrible, and I think that party's over for that guy. So quarterback is one of the toughest positions to play in any sport. And to come in as a rookie like C.J. Stroud has and do it the way he has, and add in the whole Ohio State quarterbacks don't have success in the NFL, curse, if you will. And yet he kind of broke that. He broke that. I don't want to know if you want to call it a curse, but he broke that stigma, right? That Ohio State quarterbacks could be great at college, but they can't do it at the next level. He did it big. He's going to win NFL Rookie of the Year on the offensive side, and he's and I see that Ruben's 83 Dickerson was great. And it's hard to compare different eras, right? It is a passing error more now than an 83. So, I get it. Let's just put it this way. I'll backpedal a little bit. C.J. Stroud had one of the best rookie seasons ever in the NFL.
Best chat room on the internet right here.
Yeah, call me out, right? But he's right there, man. When we're talking about best rookie seasons, he's on the short list to win that category. And like you said, they're not the favorites, I don't believe. I don't know the point spreads on these games. I haven't done
the Niners are definitely favored.
Yeah. You look at Stroud, you look at Lamar Jackson on the other side, you've sort of got a master-mentor type of situation, right? Here when we talk about quarterbacks. And I know you don't necessarily like to talk about it, but Lamar Jackson gets to these points in the playoffs, and then something happens and they lose to maybe someone they shouldn't. So if there's a little bit more magic left in the C.J. Stroud season, you could be a very unhappy fan tomorrow night.
There's a possibility of that. There's also a possibility I'll wake up 6'3", tomorrow morning. Anything's possible. I'm brazenly overconfident on this matchup. I think as far as cards go, I don't think there's a lot of guys who really can gain a lot of value. I'll say Zay Flowers, Isaiah Likely for the Ravens on their offense are not as well known and are both young players. And other than that, I think, like we said, Lamar Jackson, his low point was in the offseason. He's already got the MVP baked in. And I'm not sure there's much more he can do.
Yeah, but if he gets to a Super Bowl, going ahead of ourselves here.
Yes, that would be different. Absolutely.
I think another guy to watch in this game who had a great regular season. He's not a rookie. He's just a young wide receiver. Nico Collins really put together a great year and not too bad postseason. He's another guy who's not, his cards are still affordable, but he's sort of putting his name in that wide receiver one category. I don't think he's there quite yet, but if he continues where what he's doing, for sure. So, it's an interesting quarterback matchup. You got a young bull versus a veteran bull. I thought Cleveland was going to beat Houston last week. Their defense was pretty good in the regular season. I thought C.J. Stroud would sort of hit that wall running into that kind of defense, and they put up a 40 burger against the Browns, and here they are versus the Ravens. So I guess you can't bet. You can't bet against the Texans anymore, or the young rookie in Stroud. You just don't. They're capable of doing some crazy things. I don't think they're winning the Super Bowl. But could they beat Baltimore? I guess we'll find out tomorrow. The Packers, he's on my list here. Jordan Love is starting to look like the guy the Packers traded up to get and, succeed Aaron Rodgers. And there's, been a year or two before this year where people were like, uh-oh, he doesn't look like that guy. But now he does. And he outperformed Dak Prescott last week in what many are calling an upset there, and I think he's really finding his stride, and the Packers have found their next quarterback. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and now I think it's going to be Jordan Love for who knows how long. So, and his cards, while they're up on an uptick, obviously, there's still room to grow there, and he beats for the 49ers, right? That's how it happens. And they have a quarterback too. Which Brock Purdy is going to show up, right? The one that played the Ravens and threw 4 picks, or the guy many think will make them a Super Bowl contender and possibly a Super Bowl winner. One of those is going to show up tomorrow, and I think 49er fans have to be a little nervous with this matchup and Purdy. He's not Joe Montana at this point. And so, you didn't have to worry with Joe Montana. You really got Joe Montana. Which Brock Purdy is going to arrive in San Francisco tomorrow, right? The Brock Purdy that was an MVP candidate until Baltimore came to town, or is that quarterback going to show up against the Packers, and we're going to have more time to talk about Jordan Love? So these are both I think these are both could be good games. And we could be talking about 2 young quarterbacks in their conference championships potentially. I'm not predicting this, but you could have a Jordan Love and a C.J. Stroud in the conference championships, or at least one of them potentially. So definitely some storylines here. There's some hobby lines here. With again, we know quarterbacks drive the football hobby. And we got 4 in these 2 games that all have storylines, even with Lamar Jackson and Brock Purdy not being as young as some of these other guys. But yeah, I mean it's going to be interesting.
Appreciate the summary.
I'm not done. The Packers receivers too, right? Reed and the young receivers and Romeo Doubs. So
they're tight end also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care what they play. They score touchdowns.
I like the favorites in both of these games. I actually think on the 49ers, you could have a breakout game from somebody like a Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, depending on, who's healthy, who's playing where. This time of year, you never know. But I think those guys, because they've had success before, the markets wanted to like them before. Same thing with Jordan Love. He was very hot when he was drafted, and then he had that kind of a slump in the market. And like I always say, the post-hype bounce back, he would be the perfect type of candidate for that. All that being said, I'm going to take Baltimore and San Francisco if I have to make the picks on this. And I to be honest with you, I don't think it's as close as you're saying, John. Who did I take last week with the Packers and the Cowboys? I did well on that one.
I'll just say this. I bet on last week's games, and I stayed away from the Packers-Cowboys game. I didn't know what to pick because I knew the Cowboys' history of choking at this time of year and Mike McCarthy's track record, much like Mike Tomlin, my guy in Pittsburgh's recent track record. So it was a do-not-touch game for me. I wasn't so much shocked that the Packers won as much as I was shocked by the fashion that they won. And they just blew the doors off them early in Dallas. And Dak Prescott was not good. And, you look at Dak Prescott's final line, it doesn't look terrible, but he fattened up his numbers against a pre-vet defense when the game was already decided. So Dak Prescott played terrible. Jordan Love played excellent. And the Packers are still playing, and that's one of the main reasons why.
And I did have that the Packers in a parlay. I just wanted to confirm that I was giving correct information.
Well, you can say anything you want to say.
Well, I did check at it.
At least I said I didn't touch the game because I was so unsure.
Oh no, I touched it. I touched it a lot. Okay, let's move to Sunday. And then I know you have some people that have already been eliminated that you want to touch on also.
Yeah, not a ton, but
okay.
So
Well, let me talk Bucks Lions a little
go
bit.
first. Yeah, you go first this time.
Bucks Lions, to me, this is the easiest one out of all the games. If there's one player that could have a big game and have a bounce back in the hobby, it's Baker Mayfield. There's nobody else, I think, playing this weekend that has as much of a possibility of gaining stature in the hobby again as Baker. That's not saying I like Baker. I'm not saying to buy Baker. I'm just saying from where he was when he first got drafted. You know, talk about the post-hype bounce. This is about as post-hype as you get. And, you know, he has a chance to do something on the road.
I think it's already happened. I just did a show last weekend, did very well. And some Baker Mayfields that I've had for a while, I no longer have. They were sold. You know, people handed me cards and I'm totaling them up. And I'm like, it's a Baker Saturday show. So I sold quite a bit of Bakers last Saturday. So I think there's people who believe. There's even talk that the Steelers might send some feelers out if he becomes an impending free agent. So maybe he'll be wearing black and gold. I actually think he's a pretty good quarterback. I don't think he's elite or in that kind of category, but he can win you some games. And
Cleveland was a dumpster fire when he was there.
Yeah, but he played good there too. That's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying despite all that,
he's probably been the best quarterback they've had in a long time. I know he's not there now. And the only reason he's probably gone is because the money they threw at Deshaun Watson. That's not looking like a great deal anymore. I bet you if Cleveland was honest, they'd say we would have saved their money and kept Baker. You know what I mean? They're not going to come out and say that now, but internally they're probably thinking that. So, yeah, for sure. With all the charges with Watson, then he got hurt and the contract and, you know, and then Joe Flacco looked like a Super Bowl champion again.
He is a Super Bowl champion. And
well,
he's elite. And he's elite.
Playing like he was 20 years younger again. So, you know, it's crazy. But yeah, Baker Mayfield's, you know, putting his name back out there in collectors' mouths again. And who, you know, I don't know. Who would have thunk it, right? You never know. So, but go ahead.
Well, so that's to me, he's just, I think, the most to gain. Everybody else, I think Josh Allen had a little bit of a downer, but he's come up, you know, later in the year. The Lions, I think they're the better team, but I think the Bucks are going to take that one. And
that would be considered an upset. So
I'm taking the Bucks and the Bills.
All right. Well, listen, let's say we talked about Baker Mayfield. I'm not going to say much more. I sold some stuff last week. Not pretty, you know, pumped about that. Another guy on the Bucks, and he's not young anymore. He's on the late back nine of his career. But I think we talked about him on another show or something. I remember. But Mike Evans had a very good year, having a good postseason, and he's going to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. And he's going to sneak up on people when that day comes. And his stuff, I have some stuff. I have some RPAs that are shockingly, when I look like comps up, I'm like, that's all they're bringing, huh? So, like, he's going to be, like, there's some bargains to be had in the Mike Evans department if you believe in, like, a Hall of Fame bounce. Like, buy your Mike Evans now. I'm not saying, you know, he's Jerry Rice.
You don't need to rush out. The prices aren't going anywhere on Mike Evans for a long time.
Yeah, no, but I think they will when he gets the Canton call. So, and they're so low, now's not a bad time to buy because you're getting in sort of on the ground level. I'm not to respond to Ruben. He said Baker's not coming to the Berg. I'm not predicting that. I've just heard that being tossed around. So, listen, I don't know if you agree. I'm a huge Steeler fan. He's better than anyone we have on the current roster. Trubisky, Pickett, or Lightning in the bottle, Jason Rudolph.
Yeah,
it isn't, but he's still better than all three of those guys. So if that's who we get, it's better than what we got. But I'm hoping they're aiming higher too. But we'll see. A lot of offseason to go. So, in the Bills and Chiefs, Josh Allen had a sort of an up and down regular season, but he's kind of turning it on in the postseason. I've called him today's Brett Favre, right? He's kind of a gunslinger. You're going to have to live with a pick or two sometimes, but he's so good he can overcome those turnovers and win games by himself too. So Josh Allen's legit. You're going to have to deal with some turnovers here and there. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, it's not been a Chiefs type of season.
Just not their year.
Yeah, and I both of these games are, again, I'm going to, play the middle here. Both these games could be close too. I don't see any real huge blowouts with these 4 games. And I would probably lean Bills because they're at home, and I don't see Mahomes is not they're missing receivers. They just haven't replaced Tyreek Hill in Kansas City. Kelsey is Travis Kelsey. He's been fairly quiet. There's the Madden curse.
On the field.
Have you? Since Taylor Swift's coming into the picture, they've been sort of okay as a team. So I don't know.
I got to tell you, can't hate on him for that.
Yeah, no, it's not his fault. But I'm just saying that they've sort of lost their like dominating mojo the Chiefs have. But it just maybe it's more timing and coincidence than anything else. So there's really, no one from the Chiefs. Mahomes, if anything, his stuff sort of leveled off because of the season he's had. Some of the bigger seasons from other quarterbacks that are younger, Stroud and stuff like that. So, I guess Mahomes could get a bump if he really starts lighting it up. They beat the Bills and get back to another Super Bowl. I don't see that happening, but that could happen.
All right, so
Sam Laporta. Sam, I know tight ends. Talk about a rookie. How about that pick? Sam Laporta has had a better year than Travis Kelsey. He's had a better postseason, and I think he's questionable. I don't know if his status has changed. I think he's got
a knee, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. He's a legit tight end. And this isn't a 1-year wonder type of deal. He's, for you fantasy league folks, he's going to be one of the first tight ends on your draft board in future drafts. And, he's the real deal. And again, I know tight ends don't bring a lot of hobby money, although Travis Kelsey rookies do, especially high grade ones. So Sam Laporta is the guy you got to look at hobby wise. He's, when you get into some of the RPAs and some of the higher end stuff, he's still kind of, he's affordable now, but for how long? I think those numbers start to go up.
I think there's a reason he's affordable. He's a tight end.
But,
I agree with you. I agree with everything you're saying about Sam Laporta as a player. The Cards the market doesn't love him. They just don't. Even Mark Andrews, who's a top 5, top 3 tight end, whatever you want to call him, no love.
Yeah, I think Sam Laporta is going to get some hobby love here in the next few years if what I think he's going to do continues to go in that direction.
Do you happen to own a bunch of Sam Laporta cards?
I actually don't.
Okay.
I don't. I know you. I know you probably sense that. I actually don't. But maybe I put that in my eBay search list at this point because I like Sam Laporta. Yeah, I won't wear it.
What if they made a Sam Laporta acetate card?
I might consider it.
Yeah,
I like Sam Laporta. I think he's going to be, barring injury, he's going to be one of the best tight ends in the NFL.
All right, who else do you have on your list? Is that it?
Well, let's talk about some guys that have been eliminated. Nakua from the Rams. I mean, again, if it wasn't for Stroud, he'd win Rookie of the Year. And he put up. I saw his stat line, and that was insane for a rookie.
Well, he took over Cooper Kupp's numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, who saw that coming? Like, I know he was kind of talked about at the draft, and this is a sleeper wideout, and he's not, the first, with some of the early picks, but he's legit, and I know they're not playing anymore, but he looks like the real deal. Detroit, you got Jamar Gibbs at running back. That's why they traded DeAndre Swift and to Philly. They're done. But running backs, I'm not a Jamar Gibbs guy. Not so much for Jamar Gibbs, just because of the track record.
And they got Montgomery,
back,
who vultures everything in the end zone for them.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of other. That's about it. Dak Prescott. We talk about going up and going down. He's back down again. He was down. Then Dallas was looking like they're going to the Super Bowl in everyone's mind, and his stuff goes up, and then he lays an egg against Green Bay, and it's bad Dak again. And people, it's funny. At halftime of that Dallas Green Bay game, I was on my phone and on like Facebook and all my card groups I belong to. All the Dak Prescott stuff was listed for sale. Hey, Dak Prescott contenders rookie auto. It was like when Pickett started really struggling in Pittsburgh. All the Pittsburgh stuff, all the Pickett stuff hit the marketplaces. That's what happened with Dak at about halftime of last week's game. So, Jalen Hurts, the bloom's a little bit off the rose there.
That was going to be my question. Yep.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And we don't even know if Sirianni, not that has anything to do with Jalen Hurts, but Sirianni might have lost his job. Imagine that. You go to the Super Bowl and fired potentially the next year. Hurts. I never was really fully on the Hurts thing. I thought he caught, a little lightning in the bottle. I thought he had some serious playmakers with Devonta Smith and Brown that made him look a little bit better. He was just throwing balls up into like double coverage, and those guys were like just winning battle balls and the stat line. I thought his stat line was always a little deceiving. Maybe this proves that. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe he just had a bad postseason.
He also messed up his finger real bad on his throwing hand.
Yeah. So he's young. He can rebound. Look, we're talking about Baker Mayfield, who everyone took out to the trash compactor, now resurrected his career with the Tampa Bay Bucks. And so, we'll see. It's early, but I've definitely seen more Jalen Hurts for sale posts as well. So, and that's how the hobby is, right? When someone gets a little fearful that maybe they're not legit, sell now, get out while you can type of deal. So, we'll see. I see Mookie Chilson, Andy Reid's last game. You mean at retirement? He's not getting fired.
Well, I think he means that if the Chiefs lose.
Does he step down? I don't know if that guy's got a lot, and I don't mean this as bad as it sounds. I don't think he's got a lot going. I think he loves football. I don't think he's retiring just yet. I think he's got a few more, State Farm commercials, and don't touch. Hey, do that again with the Nuggies. I think he's going to do it again next year
with the Nuggies. Yes. Anytime you can say Nuggies. The retirement rumors are swirling for Andy. I
don't see it.
Well, here's my perspective. If he thinks the team is going the wrong way and they have that Mahomes contract, it's going to be tough to turn that ship around.
I won't disagree with you. I don't think he retires still. You know what? You know where I think he has a better chance of retiring? If somehow Kansas City turns this on, wins another Super Bowl, and then he retires. And even then, that will be their second one in a row, and then it's the three-peat. So I'm going to say no. I know that's probably a safe bet to say no. I don't see him walking away from the Chiefs right just now.
Yeah. We'll see. A lot of people would have said the same thing about Belichick early in the season. So, all right. Anybody else on your list before we move on?
No, that's. I think I'm looking at it right now. I think. I know one last guy, and he's still active. And I know defensive players don't get a ton of hobby love, right? But we're seeing a little bit more. We've seen, TJ Watt cards make a move. We've seen some of the Bosa brothers sell a little bit better. Another guy in Detroit, Aiden Hutchinson, very young defensive player, but looking like a stud defensive player. Some of his stuff brings not too bad coin. Again, you get into the higher end, the RPA stuff. And again, if you believe he's a long-term guy, like a TJ Watt type, like an Aaron Donald, now's the time to get in on him.
If Aaron Donald's not worth money, then nobody's going to be.
Yeah,
Aaron Donald's the player of the generation.
Yeah, well, listen, defensive guys never bring enough love. I get that. But, if you happen to be a Lions fan and a card collector, it's a good opportunity to buy Aiden Hutchins.
If you haven't spent all your money on Sam Laporta.
I like Sam Laporta.
Yeah, I can tell. I know what I'm getting you now for a gift. All right. The chat room seems to agree with everything you said in the last 30 minutes. So I was going to move and talk about a little Baseball Hall of Fame unless you wanted to put it.
Yeah, we got to talk some baseball. We can't do a whole show and not talk any baseball.
Well, especially with the Hall of Fame voting being announced on Tuesday. For those of you who are familiar with Ryan Thibodeau and what the work he does as far as gathering the votes from all the voters who make them public. As of right now, it looks like Adrian Beltre is going to sail in, and this is with 47.4% of the ballots. But Joe Mauer, Todd Helton, and Billy Wagner all look like they're headed in, with Gary Sheffield and Andrew Jones just missing. I think I know.
We talked before the show. Yep. Full transparent. The Joe Mauer one's a head scratcher to me. 84% for Joe Mauer. When we did this show, a month or two ago or 2 months ago, like I even questioned whether Joe Mauer would ever get in. I think I said it would take the Veterans Committee. And look at this. Like this is crazy to me.
He's gonna he's gonna go in.
He isn't in. This isn't the final vote.
No, the final vote will be Tuesday, but it would take
half the ballots. I think they just got the half that Joe Bauer is on. So this number might like this number. Like I'm shocked, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm shocked by Joe Mauer at 80. I would pick Sheffield if you told me either Sheffield or Joe Mauer have 84%. Which one is it? And I know Sheffield's only 10 point percentage. I would have took Sheffield.
Yeah, especially Sheffield's last year. So if you're going to vote for him, this is the year.
Yeah, Joe Mauer. I think he's getting a lot of this for the position he played, which was catcher. But like we talked about before the show, he switched over too. It's not like this is a whole career of catching. The Mauer one is a head scratch. I don't know who's and it's not a personal thing against Joe Mauer. Joe Mauer, from all accounts, is a really nice guy, a good to very good player. I don't see him as a Hall of Famer. Apparently, other people don't agree with my assessment. So this one is the Mauer, the Helton one. Don't scratch me. Even the Billy Wagner is arguably one of the best closers. He's in the mix for one of the best closers. And it's like punting, right? Once Ray Guy gets in, you got to start looking at, other punters too, right? So we got to look at,
Well, and I'm
shocked by it. I'm shocked by it.
And a lot of people in the comments, saying they'd leave Joe out. Ruben says that Ted Simmons would be a comp to let Joe Mauer in. To me, it's more of an issue of, for how long did somebody dominate? Were they considered one of the best players in the sport? And
let's say that is this his first year on the ballot?
Yeah.
So let's say this is the final vote. It's half the vote. But let's say this winds up to be the final vote. Joe Mauer would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That doesn't make any sense. That really, I'm confused.
Well, especially, would you have taken Joe Mauer or Gary Sheffield? Because Gary Sheffield might fall off the ballot completely.
I would take Sheffield ahead of Mauer. I'm not saying even Sheffield is a Hall of Famer. He's right there. I think.
But as a player, you would take Sheffield.
Yeah, I think I would. It's hard. You're comparing different positions, right? Sheffield being in outfield. Later on, more DHing, but more of a skill position. Well, catcher's a skill position too. But it's hard to compare a catcher to an outfielder.
And Mauer DH'd the second half of his career.
Yeah. I'm not saying Mauer was terrible, but 84% of the Hall of Fame, well, that's high for, especially on the first ballot, nonetheless, too. Like, man, that is, I don't know. I'm missing something there. I really am. Or someone else. Either I'm missing something there or 84% of the voters are missing something there.
Well, I like to, what do you think of Todd Helton? I like the Todd Helton vote, actually.
It's not his first time on the ballot. I think it's time that he gets in. My only thing with Sheffield, he's been talked about in that performance enhancing stuff. Never really, I don't believe it was ever officially proven. His numbers are Hall of Fame. I agree with Ruben, more so than Mauer's for that matter. For that matter, like the Mauer thing is like when you put this up, I thought you messed with the numbers just to bust my balls.
No, Mike Petty says Hall of Fame has clearly jumped the shark. Joe DiMaggio didn't make the Hall in the first vote. Let that one sink in.
That's insane. Yeah. That's it. I don't know what's more insane, that Joe D didn't get in on the first ballot, or the fact that Joe Mauer is 84% on his first year eligible. Yep. I think I'm going with Mauer. I mean, that number's super high for his numbers, and was a guy that didn't play catcher his whole career. If he played catcher his whole career, I'd still be surprised by the 84%.
But then you can compare it to other catchers, where defense maybe was more valued or something else.
I'm going to tell you what, man, as a Thurman Munson kid, if Mauer gets in on the first ballot, we got to start talking about Thurman Munson again. Seriously,
Name your favorite Todd Helton moment. I can't remember any. Starting quarterback, University of Tennessee, in front of Peyton Manning.
He was one of those very good players for a good amount of time, and that
his numbers are unbelievable.
Yeah, that gets you in. He's not a sexy guy, like Dan is pointing out. There's no World Series play or moment that does, stand out in a lot of people's minds. I get it, but when you look at the body of work, he's not to be confused with some of the all-time greats, but he's more a Hall of a Famer than Joe Mauer is, to be blunt honest. So the Mauer thing, I thought you doctored these numbers up, Danny, when you put this chart up. I thought it was just to get me going and get my blood pressure going, which it has, but apparently these are real numbers getting my blood pressure going, not a Danny fake out. So
and how do you feel about relievers in the Hall and closers in general?
Mariano, arguably the best one. So that's who sets the bar. But we're starting to see relievers get in. Your Trevor Hoffman, Rowley Fingers, one of the first ones. Goose Gossage, a guy I saw in person many a time, who was scared me when I met him. I said, "You used to scare me when I watched you in person," and he goes, "I don't scare you anymore." And I said, "No, you're in your 60s." And he got a chuckle. He had a chuckle out of that, but.
And then he kicked your ass.
He probably could have. He didn't. He was pretty. He laughed about it. We had a good. Here's a picture. I can post it another day. But relievers should get in. I mean, the relievers today are different than the relievers that I grew up on, right? And you grew up on, where they pitch 2 or 3 innings to get a save. Now there's more specialists. You get your middle relief guys, your long relief guys, your 8th inning guys, and then you have your closer come in to get 1, 2, or 3 outs only, right? Yep. So it's hard. Again, it's hard to compare today's closers to the guys like Gossage and Fingers and Eckersley, who would pitch 2 to 3 innings to get that save and go through almost the whole lineup of 9 guys to get there, right? Rather than just 3 or 4, even 5 on a rougher inning. So. But if you have, 300-400 saves or whatever, I mean, we talk about 500 home runs. You should be in the Hall. I guess now we have to what's the save number to get in?
Well, but now they're being used differently, and because you don't have a true closer anymore again.
Yeah, are we going to get to a time where we put in the 8th inning guy on holds?
Absolutely.
Are holds going to become a stat that gets you in the Hall of Fame? He had 300 holds in his career, but 10 saves, but he's a Hall of Fame. This is all the game is different now. So. Yep. If I'm that 7th or 8th inning reliever, not even closer, almost said closer. I'm like, hey man, I did my job for 14 years maintaining the lead, so our closer can close the door and get the stat that gets him in the Hall of Fame. But I have over 200 holds. I should be a Hall of Famer, right? When does that become an argument? You know what I mean?
I think it's an argument now. I mean, look at the teams that are winning in the postseason.
Well, holds it became a stat. It's like a late stat.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, and whether or not it's an official hold, the middle reliever, that role has changed completely. The high leverage pitcher, it's a much more important role than it used to be, because you're not saving them for the 9th inning. You're putting them in, the most important game situation a lot of times. And so for me, I don't know that holds or saves work. Mike Petty says 100 fake quality starts will get you in. 4 innings pitched, 6 earned runs, 3,000 strikeouts by a batter will get you in. Yep.
It's the Mauer thing is really a head scratcher. I know I'm sound like a broken record. I apologize for that, but man, here I am on that last show when we talked about a preview in this. I'm talking about he might have to wait to the Veterans Committee, and I wasn't even sure then. And here he might be a first ballot. That is stunning to me. I'm shocked.
I was a little sorry that the announcements come in 3 days, after our live show, because I don't want it to be stale news when we talk about it on our next one. But the early numbers are interesting.
Well, apparently the guy, what you say his name is, I want to give him proper credit. Put that compiled of early votes.
On Twitter, he goes by Mr. Tibbs, but it's Ryan Thibodeau. And it's
all right, Ryan Thibodeau. Good job by you. But what I think he got was all the ones that have Mauer on, and the rest of them won't. I'm hoping. No offense, Joe Mauer. It's not a personal thing. But I'm hoping the other half don't have Mauer, and he gets 48% of the vote, and we're not talking about a first ballot Joe Mauer Hall of Famer. And again, that's not a personal thing to Joe Mauer. That's just, I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, man. I don't. I'm shocked that 84% of half the vote so far does. We'll see what how the other half lives.
Well, he's just got to finish at 75, But I think Adrian Beltre is also somebody you can get cheap cards still, who's going to sail right in as a first ballot.
Yeah, we talked. That's the one thing we both said on that previous show. He's the no-brainer. There's nothing to really debate. And did it with the glove, did it with the bat. Nice guy from all reports, and well respected by his peers. And he's going to get in, and as reflected by that vote tracker. But some of the other ones, we can look at Chase. I like Chase Utley better than Joe Mauer. He has 43% of them.
It's not a sexy class.
True. I won't argue that.
It's not. It's a lot of, I don't know. It's a lot of I don't know, compilers or League of the Very Good, Hall of the Very Good. Ruben says Hall of Fame ballot. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what, I've even heard people say there should be 2 wings now in the Hall, the upper echelon and then everybody else, right? How do you do that, right? If you're either in or you're not in. I don't think you can start getting clicks and critiques and different wings and
what's up, Al?
And whatnot. So, man, the Mauer thing, I really thought you were had put up a fake graphic knowing I would go ballistic about the Mauer. And yet that's legit. It's stunning.
Well, that's what I'm here for. I just want to stun you.
I'm off the Mauer family Christmas card list, which it's okay. I'm gonna be all right, but
Not only that, you're going to be getting evil notes from the Mauer family.
if you see this guy, knee him in the you know what's.
I was about to say you did a bashing on him I wasn't expecting tonight.
Well, again, it's not personal, man, but like I don't see it. I don't see it. Like I don't see it. Like I don't know what's going on with the voting. You know.
Well, the early votes are usually the younger voters, so they're more into the advanced stats, and that's where Mauer shines on some stuff. I don't know if the older voters are going to look at him like Bench or Barra or some of the other, even a Gabby Harnett or some of the other great Hall of Famers.
Heck, at this point, put in Thurman, put in Mo Berg. Let's put in any catcher that played more than 4 years at the position.
Hey, he's no Gary Carter.
Lance Parrish. Let's get Lance Parrish in there. Remember Lance Parrish?
Yep. The votes are made public, but not the individual voter. Just to answer Al's question in the chat. The individual voters have to decide on their own if they want to release it, but the final numbers are released, the final percentages. Yeah, and that's announced Tuesday night. So it's a big day in the hobby. It affects a lot of card prices, memorabilia prices. Mike Petty says, remember Thurman Munson? Yep, absolutely.
To me, if Mauer gets in, man, you almost got to put in Thurman in, like the captain, dude. Matt Noakes. Let's talk about Matty Noakes. Jim Sundberg.
Tiger's legend.
Yeah. Johnny Oates. I mean, let's talk about.
Here, I'm gonna make you help your Munson case here. If you look at OPS plus, even with a shortened career, Munson ranks above Gary Carter, Bobby Doerr, Yount, Sandberg, and many others, including even Derek Jeter. Well, Jeter's overrated, so that doesn't surprise me.
Listen, Mike Petty doesn't have to convince me. I was a Thurman Munson kid. I've told the story on my own podcast when I was a guest. He's the first guy I cried over. Now, obviously not related to him. Actually never met him in person. Been to Yankee Stadium, watch him play from the stands. That doesn't count. But that's how I learned. I learned what death was when Thurman Munson died. I didn't get it. I remember asking my grandfather. I apologize for people who've heard this story before, but I asked my grandfather when they broke into the news that he had this plane had crashed and he was deceased. I didn't know really what that meant. I asked my grandfather literally, does that mean he won't be playing for the Yankees next year? And that's when I learned the finality of death. And when it really sunk in what it really was and what it meant, I cried over a man I had never met personally before. But all that being said, like Mike Petty just pointed out, Munson is more of a Hall of Famer. If Mauer gets in, again, we talk about guys where the bar gets lowered, where now certain guys almost have to be other guys have to be a no-brainer. Munson becomes a no-brainer, like Mike Petty just pointed out. To me, I don't know, others might make a different argument, but to me, and I think Mike Petty would agree, like that, and first ballot for Mauer, like that's yikes. That's the word, yikes. I'm like Scooby. I'm like, yikes.
Those crazy voters.
This is crazy.
I'm gonna right now. Mike Petty, damn right. I cried too. I was 15 and a Dodger fan. Yeah, Thurman Munson. It's a sad story because you got the feeling that he was on the road to the Hall. You just
no doubt. I know he was sort of, especially in the catching position, he was sort of on the back nine of his career. Even besides what happened, there was talk that they might move him to a different position to prolong his career, like a lot of catchers do. But yeah, man, like this to me, he was always in the discussion, and now if Mauer gets in, that really, like when you start putting up record per catchers, like if Mauer gets in, how do you not have Thurman Munson in? Like that's it's the same argument when Rizzuto got in at shortstop, Nelly Fox, and then you start looking at shortstops, and if Mauer gets in, now you got to start looking at guys that aren't in that aren't here any longer or retired and start looking at their track record, their career stats. And that's the risk when this happens, right? I was going to say it lowers the bar. I guess there's no other way to put it. It lowers the bar because they lower the bar.
Well, and let me give Munson another hobby love here. Does he have one of the greatest photographs on any card ever?
Oh, with the play at the list 71. Yeah, how many people think that's his rookie card? It's got the gold cup on it, and they forget about the 70.
Yeah,
but
the 71 photograph is tremendous.
It is, and that card in a high grade goes for well more than his rookie, which is I think why people think it's his rookie card, because some of the money it brings at certain auctions, in comparison to his actual 1970 rookie card. So.
It's also because it's so hard to find the black border in good condition. I mean, it's. Believe me, I've seen plenty. I've owned some of those cards. I've seen plenty. I have yet in person, other than someone else at the National or something. I've yet in person have really seen a great card offered to me. Anytime it's come up to me, it's always in that off condition. Still love the card, but. That's why those high grades bring those high dollars. But yeah, man, we have to change the subject because the Maurer stuff has got me triggered, as the kids say. I'll give a shout out to Stadium Insurance while we have a minute, our new sponsor. Guys, if you're looking to get your collection insured, check out stadiuminsurance.com and their app, and you handle everything right on the app. And thank you for Stadium Insurance, stadiuminsurance.com. All right.
And we'll even insure your Joe Mauer cards.
Well, I think you need to have value first. But there's some Mauer person that's really going to hate us after tonight. This was not.
All the Mauer, if there were Mauer people who liked us before today, not anymore.
We were not Mensches to Mauer. I'd like to apologize to the Mauer family. The man's got a family. John, we are just crossing into overtime, so I'm gonna wrap us up here. But we got 2 more weeks. Will be episode 31. This is episode 30. I just want to give you a shout out for sticking with me for 60 weeks now on this, and I'm going to be amazed every week we talk about it.
I know it's well, you said we've even crossed into 3 calendar years, which I didn't really think about until you said it. I think we should be Hall of Famers before Joe Mauer, just based on that, right? I think that's harder to do.
We've got the Mensches calendar coming out, so at least we have that for going.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
On that note, say good night, John.
Good night, John.
See you guys.